Hello, how are you guys doing?
Hey, Matt, how
Hey,
are
what's
you?
up, Matt?
Doing all right. Just got done with the radio show and relaxing a little bit and prepping for a debate I got to be on Friday. And thought I'd just listen in and see what guys are doing.
Are you
You're
ready
going to be
for
on the
the
burner, Matt. You better not relax too much.
Are you ready for the debate on Friday, Matt?
Not yet. Getting there.
Who are you debating?
Some Muslim guy. I forgot his name. Brent. I don't know.
It's the
Jake.
Muslim Metaphysician who is up top, and I don't know if you remembered Matt from our previous conversation, but he's one of the top two critics of the Trinity on online. Period. Him and Dale Tuggy are the top two that I can point to if a Christian's looking at who's critiquing the Trinity at a high level. I just recommend. I know you said you haven't prepped or gotten ready much yet, but I would recommend looking at some of his material and reading up on that before the debate on Friday.
Yeah, well, where is his material?
He has a channel, Muslim Metaphysician on YouTube, like 15,000 subscribers.
Okay.
He's got a couple
formal
debates out there.
Yeah, he debated James White as well. That you can also see that debate.
Yeah. Yep. That'll be interesting.
Matt, do you know what a transcendental argument is?
Yeah, it presupposes the validity of transcendentals and the necessary precondition for them postulates a universal mind. Yeah.
Is that what Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy says what a transcendental argument is?
I don't know.
So you didn't happen to look up what a transcendental argument actually is?
You asked me what I think it is. That's how I use it. So there's different
You
kinds
use
of
it.
transcendental.
Is that how philosophers use it?
Okay, I already answered the question. You want to ask another one?
Or you just make up your own definition of what a transcendental argument is?
Yeah, I like to make things up just because I have no rationality, reason, or anything. Okay, next.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the last part is different from what usually people regard as transcendental, right? It's like just you know, anything that's required to what is it again? Like not just a universal mind, like any kind of reasoning, right? In Kant.
Yeah, that ultimately all reasoning is based. What's a necessary precondition for all intelligibility deals with transcendentals, and the transcendental argument has varieties of approaches. And in the Christian theological perspective, it presupposes the universality of the laws and universals, and then therefore what must be the case, hence transcendental argument. Another variation of it is the laws of logic, what must be the case in order for the laws of logic to have their existence and for us to be able to apprehend them.
Yeah, but that's just the specific the tag for the presuppositional tag, right? Like I think Floyd was asking about transcendental arguments in general, as I guess first laid out by Kant, which I don't know.
Transcendental arguments deal with the necessary condition for certain other conditions, the universals that underlie them. Okay.
Yeah, that's sort of right, I think. Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a good debate, Matt.
Hopefully. And to the guy who talked about presuppositional versus evidential, I don't negate one for the other. I use presuppositional arguments. I use evidential arguments. I use rationalist or classical arguments, because in the Bible, presuppositionalism is taught in Acts 17. Paul at Mars Hill, Jesus told Thomas to believe based on the evidence in John 20 through 25 through 28. And then Paul uses rationality a great deal in his argumentation as well for justifications of certain things and judgments out of Romans 1 and 2. So, I use them all, but I think precept is the better one. That's my opinion.
So what edges out presuppositional apologetics versus evidential, because the way I'm envisioning the two is I'm telling the atheist, I presuppose God exists, and then I look at reality around me, and it seems to confirm my presupposition. But then, is it then switching to then talk to the atheist about what their presuppositions are?
Well, what I believe is that we should ultimately presuppose the truth of God's word, of who Christ is, and the Trinity. And when you do that, everything makes sense. Evidences only exist inside of a broader context. And evidence is, in one category, it's an abstract idea, because what is evidence for one thing may not be evidence in support of something else. So evidence works in a worldview and a theory or hypothesis that uses what we might call evidence, and we can talk about that. And so ultimately, all evidence exists inside of a broader context, which I think is ultimately presuppositionally addressed, if that makes sense.
Why is it that only the Trinity can account for it?
Well, that's a good question. And when I try and answer the question, I will admit, first of all, that I'm having difficulty articulating the problem of the one and the many, of universals and particulars, and the relationship to actuality, something I've been struggling with for a year or two. And so I think the Trinity, without connecting all the dots, I think the Trinity is a necessary precondition by which the one and the many are equally ultimate and justifies what is truth.
Yeah, but I'm saying what's unique specifically about the Trinity, though?
The Trinity posits that one and many are equally ultimate in the nature of God, or generally speaking, the one and the many arguments philosophically posits one or the other as being ultimate. So it's either the case, and here's where you'll see I have trouble articulating the problem, and I'm not the only one who does. A lot of people do, but you guys probably are a little bit more astute in this area. If you want to help me formulate it, that would be great. But the idea of the one, like a tree, you have the one. What's the ultimate? Let me back up. What's the ultimate substance or underlying principle of which the universe is? Is it, well, material is just kind of begging the question, well, what's materiality, et cetera. So we come down to this issue of the one and the many, the universal idea of something, the particular manifestations of the something, like an atom and atoms, or tree and trees. And how are they connected and apprehended? Well, if we were to look at the one, the treeness as ultimate, then the question is, how do you justify the unity between the particulars if they are not ultimate, but the one is ultimate? Yeah, you guys know what I'm saying. It's just hard to articulate. I've still been working on it. I'm still trying to.
Yeah, but Matt, what would be the problem with one God who's a particular that has multiple aspects, but not three persons, and he grounds universals? What's the problem?
Well, then that would simply be that the aspects are part of his unity. That's all.
Yeah, but he's a particular, so there's unity and diversity, right? So what would the difference be?
Not in his nature.
Yeah, there would be.
No, the particulars would be a manifestation of his unity.
I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, clearly there would be, he's a particular, okay, so he's an individual, and he grounds universals, right? So you have the one and the many.
How does a Unitarian being ground with the one and the many?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. How doesn't he?
No, you say he does. I want to know how you say he does. I already gave you my answer.
I just explained how he can be one and diverse.
You mean the properties of his oneness?
Yeah. What's the difference?
Yeah, but properties of oneness is not the same thing as being one in many.
What do you mean? Can you explain
properties? Properties emanate out of the essence. All right, you know that. And so you have properties that emanate out of the essence. What is the essence? Is the essence one or is it many? In your view of Islam, Tawhid, then he is one. Okay, so then you have properties that emanate out of your God, which you can't even know exhaustively. So therefore, you can't defend exhaustively your idea of your God being that ultimate one. He has properties, but the properties emanate out of his oneness. But his properties are not identical to his oneness. Unless you want to go with that.
Yeah, but you're moving to something else about defending the knowability, or that's another issue. But I'm saying what's the difference? Because in that model you have one and many, don't you?
Tell me how the Muslim God is both one and many in his essence.
Well, so you're saying there has to be many essences? Is that what you're saying? I don't understand, because in the Trinity there's only one essence, right?
I'm asking you a question. If you're going to just ask questions without answering anything, I'm not going to talk to you.
Well, I asked you a question initially.
Yeah, you did, and I answered it initially. Then I responded with a question, and you didn't answer it.
Yeah, I've already explained how God is one and many.
How is your God one and many?
He's one God with multiple aspects.
And what are the aspects?
Attributes.
So his attributes. Okay. That's your position. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are the attributes identical with his essence?
No.
Okay. Then you don't have a true one and many.
Why not?
Because his attributes are not identical with his essence. But you said that the attributes emanate out of his essence. But if his essence is one, the attributes aren't a reflection of his oneness, but of his, or of multiplicity, or his many, but of his oneness, because they're just attributes that emanate out of the one.
Well, I didn't say anything about emanating. That was your terminology.
Yeah. And how do attributes exist? But they are related to the essence, the ontos, right?
Yeah, but how are they not many? That's what I'm trying to understand.
You have many attributes, sure, just as God has many aspects to his thinking. He can have many thoughts. He can think several things. That doesn't mean his thoughts are identical to his essence.
Mm-hmm.
In one and the many, we're talking about the ultimate essence of God, and you're playing a word game here.
No, I'm just trying to understand what actually are you trying to drive at with the one and the many, right? Because obviously there's one and
We'll get
many
to that.
in what I just described, right? So there must be something more specific.
We'll
So
get
if
to
it's
that.
something about, yeah, if it's something about the attributes, or in your case, the persons being identical to the essence, well then, yeah, I don't believe the attributes are identical to the essence. So if it somehow solves the problem uniquely by each one of the persons being identical to the essence, then I think you should just be clear on that, if that's what you're saying.
With the is of identity, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's your view. Do you believe the persons are identical to the essence?
Discuss that later, won't we?
Yeah.
Because what sense do you mean are, which is just a verb form of the word is. So what sense do you mean that?
Yeah, that they're identical.
That are identical. So you're just citing the law of identity, A equals A.
Yeah, that each person is identical to the essence. That's what I thought you were saying earlier. That's why I
So you
was
talk
asking.
about predication?
No.
And what kind of
I'm
predication?
saying, is the Father identical to the essence?
Now, see, that's the problem to say that. To say the Father's identical is, what do you mean by is?
I don't know. I don't know any other way to say it other than the Father, and whatever the Father is, the essence is, and vice versa.
You're supposed to know about the is of identity and the is of
Yeah.
predication, right?
Correct.
And the discernibility of identicals, and maybe Leibniz's law, I don't know. But what we're talking about here is what the word is.
Yeah, in this case, I'm asking, is it being used in terms of identity?
Well, we're just talking about equality. Is the Father equal to God? Well, God, by definition, is triune in the divine simplicity. To say that the Father then is that is a fallacy of equivocation. So the issue of the identity isn't going to work. You should abandon that.
Okay, so you abandon that because it sounded like you were saying the persons are identical to the essence. So then I
There
don't
is a
really see how
sense.
you...
There's a sense in which they are, and there's a sense in which they're not. But we'll discuss it on Friday.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, so we'll see.
You know what it means? It means Friday during our debate, we'll be going through it. That's what it means.
No, I'm saying you saying there's a sense in which they're identical and there's a sense in which they're not. That doesn't make sense.
Yes, it does, because different senses deal with the word is of identity, is of predication.
Right. So they're either identical or they're not. They're not identical in one sense and not in another.
They are in different senses. What do you mean when you say the word is? If this is how the debate's going to go, we're not going to get anywhere. It's not going to accomplish anything. I can ask you the questions too. I can ask you, what kind of predication theory are you going to hold to? And whose view do you hold and why, and what justifies it? I don't know how far down deep you want to get in, but we're not going to accomplish anything.
I think we are. I think the debate is going to go just as I plan.
Yeah, and how do you plan?
So I'm going to present clear arguments against the Trinity. You're not going to have an answer, and you're not going to be able to formulate an argument for the Trinity to show how any other view besides it is contradictory or problematic, and you're going to lose the debate.
It's not what the debate's about.
Yeah.
Maybe you might want to think about what it is you're debating.
It is.
It's the debate title is the Trinity necessary for reality? It's not, is the Trinity true? That's what you're arguing. That's not the debate.
No.
The debate presupposes the validity of the Trinity as a position. It's like the Christian Trinity, necessary for? That's what the debate is.
Yeah, and you're going to argue yes, and I'm going to argue no. Very simple.
And what you're going to do is you're going to be arguing a different topic. Is the Trinity true?
No, I'm not. I'm going to say, is the Trinity necessary? You're going to have to show how it's necessary, and I'm going to show how it's not necessary.
You just said you were going to argue against the Trinity. That's what you're going to do. And try and show it's false.
Yeah, and by showing it's false, shows that it's not necessary.
But the debate is not about whether it's true or false.
Yeah, it's about whether or not it's necessary. And if it's false, then it's necessarily not necessary.
So the debate title is the Trinity necessary for reality. The Trinity is the teaching one God in three distinct, simultaneous, co-eternal persons. That's the debate. It's given that that's what it is. Is that condition necessary for reality? It's not, is the Trinity one God in three distinct, simultaneous, co-eternal persons true?
Matt, do you know what necessary means?
I'm not sure if I necessarily understand that. What do you mean?
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. Can something that's false be necessary? In the context of the title.
I would say in that case,
no. Can something false explain reality necessarily?
You mean like Islam? No.
No, I'm saying like any view. Can something that's false, take any false view, can something that's false be necessary to explain reality?
I would say no. So let me get this straight. So what you're going to do is spend time arguing against the Trinity.
Well, the debate is whether or not the Trinity is necessary to explain reality.
So you're going to spend your time attacking the doctrine of the Trinity.
Well, what else would I attack?
That's all you're going to do.
I wouldn't attack Matt Slick. I mean, what else would I attack?
You're going to attack the doctrine of the Trinity. That's what you're going to do. Just want to make sure.
Matt, what do you think? Okay, before this conversation, what did you think I would be arguing? Because I'm not really sure what you're...
I don't know what you're going to be arguing.
Yeah, I mean, what else? I mean, the debate is whether or not the Trinity is necessary. I think it's very clear.
And the Trinity is one God in three distinct simultaneous persons. Is that position necessary? In other words, is the one in the many nature of the triune God the necessary precondition for all actuality? That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the debate. You're going to say yes, and I'm going to say no, correct?
And I'm going to do what the debate title is. Assume what the Trinity is and argue from it. You're going to assume that it's not true, but that's not the debate.
No, I'm not going to assume that it's not true. I'm going to show that it's not true.
No, you're going to assume it, and you think you're going to show it, and you're going to waste our time because that's not what the debate is.
Okay, Matt, so you tell me where I'm going wrong with how I'm understanding it. How am I understanding necessary? If something that's false, right, it can't be necessary to explain everything that exists.
Then if you cannot demonstrate the Trinity is false, then you have failed, right?
No, it's actually the opposite. If you can't demonstrate that the Trinity is necessary, then you failed. I just have to show that it's not necessary.
So then all you're going to do is attack the Trinity, which I will refute, and then you're going to say you claim victory anyway.
No, I mean, it's two things. I'm going to show, first of all, that the Trinity is not necessary because it's false. And also, I'm going to anticipate that you're not going to be able to show that the Trinity is necessary, even if I can't show that it's false.
So then, either way, I lose, according to you.
Yeah, you have no chance in hell.
No chance in hell. All right. So then all the argumentation and logic that you're going to use presupposes you're God.
No.
It doesn't? So then you argue from a position that excludes your God?
I'm arguing to show that the Trinity is not necessary.
I got you. If it's not necessary, then something else is, correct?
Could be or could not be. That's irrelevant.
What?
That's irrelevant.
You mean the Trinity's not true, then there's no way to provide any necessary conditions for intelligibility?
No, I believe that there is,
Wow.
but I don't need to argue for that in the debate, because the debate is not whether or not my position is correct. The debate is whether or not the Trinity is necessary.
And so you're going to argue against the Trinity being coherent. So once you fail at that, and I show you that your position doesn't work and your arguments against the Trinity don't have any validity, and then I demonstrate, or at least try to demonstrate, how the Christian Trinity is a necessary preconditions for intelligibility, well then, there we go. You're just going to say no and haven't done it. I'm going to say, yes, I have. That's what's going to happen.
If you're able, Matt, if you're able to do those two things, then you would win the debate, correct?
And would you repent of your false doctrine of Islam and become a Christian?
Yeah, but I don't think there's any chance of that happening.
Well, God has to grant you that repentance. And if you have chosen to follow Muhammad, the false prophet, and the false Qur'an, which I can prove is false, well, then that's up to you.
And say a prayer for me before the debate, Matt.
Oh, I will. I'll pray for your salvation. It's not a mocking, condescending thing. You have been entrapped by a false doctrine from a demonic force through Muhammad. Your God is a deceiver.
Yeah.
Surah 4, 157. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, your God sends a lying spirit to make people believe what is false.
And you know what the difference is between efficient and proximate causation, right? Right?
I'm looking forward to the debate, Matt. I think it's going to be fun. What do you think?
Do you know what the difference is between the proximate and efficient causation is?
Well, I'm not gonna get into any of that now.
I just wonder if you know. Do you know what the difference is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Then you will know that your God is the efficient cause of his deception, and in Christianity, God is the proximate cause.
No,
and therefore
that's incorrect.
He's not culpable.
That's incorrect.
That is correct.
That's incorrect.
Your God specifically deceives people. Surah 4, 157.
Matt, I don't take your exegesis of the Quran seriously at all.
It doesn't matter.
Is the human agent a proximate cause in Calvinism?
Hold on, we're talking about the topic. In Surah 4:157, Allah, according to Tasfir, is the one who made by his own hand someone look like Jesus to be crucified. That means your God, by his direct hand and direct action, is the cause of the deception.
No, that's incorrect.
No, that is correct.
But
Your
Matt,
denial of it doesn't make it go away.
what you could do is you could bring that up in the debate, and then that will just make you look bad because that's irrelevant to the debate.
You said I was going to bring it up in the debate.
Exactly. So there's no point in talking about it.
I'm talking about you here now. You have a false god. I'm informing you of your false god and your false prophet. And that the proof of it is found in Surah 482. If there's any discrepancy in the Qur'an, it's not from Allah. And yet in Surah 86, 5-7, it says a man's seed comes from his chest. And it says Allah is a deceiver. Surah 4:157. You can laugh.
Yeah,
you can laugh.
That's not what it says, Matt.
That is what it says.
Matt,
I know.
All of your arguments are based on your inability to actually exegete passage of the Quran. I don't take your exegesis of my text seriously at all, just as you probably wouldn't take my exegesis of the Bible seriously. So, I mean, you could waste your time using these type of arguments, but I'm not concerned with it at all.
Well, then let's hear what the people in the room say. Surah 86, 5-7. Let man but think from what he is created. He's created from a drop, emitted, proceeding from between the backbone and the ribs.
Yeah, Matt, what's the word
ejaculation.
there? What's the word there in Arabic?
I don't know.
Have you actually looked up tafsirs for it, which explain it?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, can you give me one?
No, I don't have it off the top of my head memorized.
Okay, so stop wasting my time then.
You're wasting mine. You asked for a question. Once you correct it, show us how a drop emitted proceeding from the chest is how we have our origination.
I'm not going to teach you. I'm not going to give you a tafsir exegesis lesson here in this room. I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it.
Why not?
I'm not going to do it.
So everybody knows you don't want to do it. You're not either able to. You don't know the issue.
I've made that very clear. I could explain it to you, but I don't want to.
Well, explain it. Okay, then I'll explain it to the listeners. It
Matt, you seem very upset. Are you all right?
No, I'm fine. That a man's seed comes from his chest, and we don't believe in chesticles. All right, so the Quran.
Yeah, that's not the word.
Got it wrong.
That's not the word. It's not chest. I mean,
between the backbone and the ribs.
Is this a joke, Matt? Honestly.
Hey, I know people who speak Arabic. I know people who are raised over there who are Christians, and they can tell you all you want to know about the Arabic and what it really says.
Why don't you bring them?
I can call them on the phone. We can get them in. Yeah. Maybe we can. I'll arrange something. We can have a nice discussion.
Yeah,
if you want to do that sometime.
We could have another conversation about that. Sure.
But in the meantime, Quran is false. You have a false God, and you're under demonic influence. And I'll pray for you. I'll pray. It's not a mockery. It's not a condescension. You have been deceived by this guy named Muhammad.
Matt, is there any chance you could be deceived? Could you be under demonic possession? Is there a chance of that?
Only if Jesus Christ did not rise from the dead.
Maybe you are possessed by a demon. I think that's very possible, Matt.
Wow. Well, I said only if Jesus did not rise from the dead. Can you demonstrate that he did not rise from the dead?
Matt,
that's the condition I said.
If he rose from the dead, could he still be possessed by a demon?
No.
Why not?
Because Jesus Christ lives in me. That's why demonic forces don't do that. When you're inhabited by God, Matthew 12:43-47.
Yeah, but that's just like the Mormons who believe in the burning of the bosom, right? But they're not actually. They don't actually have the Holy Spirit, do they?
The Mormons who teach God came from another planet and has sex with his goddess wife and makes spirit babies. No, it's not. For you to mix them is like mixing apples and oranges.
Well, Matt, I actually think you are possessed.
Well, I don't know if you are possessed or not. It's not a tit for tat thing. But I do know that Muhammad was a killer who sinned, who had people killed, and that Islam was spread by the sword for the first 200 years in over 140 battles. I also know that when Islam gains power in any country, it becomes more violent, and those who don't agree with it are persecuted heavily. The documentation is there. I also know that in Surah chapter 9, which is the second to last Surah, Surah 110 being the last, there's nothing abrogated in it, and it talks about killing the unbelievers and going after them. This is who you follow.
Matt,
You follow the same one.
All of these weak claims have been refuted time and time again.
No, they haven't.
They have. Yeah, they have.
No, they haven't.
These are just low-level apologetics. And if that's what you're going to bring to the debate, it's not going to end too well for you.
And Muhammad said that Adam was 90 feet tall, and that drinking camel urine was a form of medicine, and that a man fell asleep and the devil peed in his ear.
That's not true.
Yes,
Matt.
it is.
No, it's not.
Is it a Sahih? Or what level would you admit to Sahih?
Excuse me?
You don't know what Sahih is in the Hadith?
I do. You're just not pronouncing it correctly. But yeah, I know what it means. Do you know what it means, Matt?
Yeah, it's the primary upper level of that which is orthodox and accepted as being the most valid. There's 4 levels.
Not really.
Yes, really.
No.
Yes.
You know what mutawatir is?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. So Matt, this is the problem. You've done a little bit of Google searching. You probably spoke to Sam Shamoon. You looked up his website. He maybe gave you a couple pointers, and you think that you can speak about Islam when you haven't even properly researched your own faith, because you don't even have a basic understanding of the doctrine of the Trinity.
Well, there you go. I guess you know better than I do, don't you?
I do. You're going to find out.
Okay. So you're going to tell us and tell me how much you know about the Trinity. I will remember this for our debate, that you say you know the doctrine of the Trinity better than I do.
Yes.
Great.
Exponentially.
Okay,
so.
you do. So you know it better than I do. Okay, great. And so we're going to ask you to define what, I'll ask you, might as well, to define what it is. Now, you can argue against the Trinity, but it's up to you to prove that it's false, which you can't do. It'll be interesting to have this discussion.
Matt, you're not going to be able to even prove it's necessary, right? So I don't even have to bring an argument because you're not going to be able to prove it's necessary. You, by your own admission, have struggled to actually formulate an argument based on the one and the many. But you know what you could do, because there's still a few days left. You could actually come up with a formulation of the argument that I can interact with, but I don't even think you'll be able to do it. You won't even be able to formulate an argument.
Really? Okay,
yeah.
Well, we'll just see what happens in the debate. We'll just see. All right. Your job is to attack the Trinity. You have to demonstrate it's not true. Okay. And I don't have to prove that it's true. I just have to say that it is what is necessary, because if God exists, no problem. We'll get to it.
Yeah, I think you're going to struggle, Matt.
I think you're going to struggle.
Looking forward to it, sir.
Okay.
I'll pray for you, though, Matt.
To what? What are you going to pray to?
To the one and only true God, not the Trinity.
And who's the only one and true God?
You know it. You're convicted of it right now.
No, I'm not. Is the true God in the Old Testament of the Bible?
Who is the true God in the Old Testament?
I asked, is the true God in? I didn't ask who. I said, is he in the Old Testament?
Well, who is he? There are many gods in the Old Testament.
I asked you, is the true God revealed in the Old Testament? Is he?
You tell me, Matt.
Yes, he is. Now, do you agree?
Just a quick question, Jake. Mutawata means settled, right, Jake?
No.
So what's the name of your God?
Matt, I'm not going to play games with you. I think you know that.
What's the name of your God? Does he have a name?
Matt, what you could do is...
Because the God of the Bible has a name and it's used over 9,000 times. Why is it the Quran doesn't have the name of God?
It does actually, Matt.
No,
What
it
you could
doesn't.
do
Where is
is
it? What surah? What surah?
Matt. What you could do is you can go to an Arabic Bible right now and open up to Genesis 1, and you tell me what the word is for God.
Allah. So what's the
Wait.
name of your
What
God that
is
you
it?
call Allah?
Wait, what
What
is it
is the
translated
name?
to? What is it translated
What's
to in an Arabic Bible in
I
Genesis
think
1?
it's the word Allah, isn't it?
Okay, so is that a false translation?
I don't know. Is that the
You
right
don't
word?
know.
No, listen.
You don't know.
Is it?
I thought you
Listen.
knew.
Listen to me complete my sentences. Am I correct that that's the Arabic word for God, Allah?
You should know.
I'm just asking you for the
I,
room's
I,
benefit. Is it
I
the
thought,
correct thing to assume?
Matt, I thought you were an expert on Islam.
Ay. Is it correct or is it not correct?
I just told you, go and check your Genesis 1:1 Arabic.
Is the Arabic word for God Allah?
You know the answer, Matt.
Yes, that's correct. The answer is yes. How come you can't even answer it?
I did several times.
Okay, so what's the name of this God?
You just said it.
The name of God is I am. Where does the Qur'an, it says it's the true God revelation, why is it that of all of the texts in the Old Testament, that Abraham, whom you claim to follow and believe in, and Adam and Pharaoh and all this stuff and all that went on, how come in all of the Quran, God's name is omitted? Why is
It
that?
is mentioned. It is mentioned, actually.
Where?
I want you to do some research, Matt. You might find out. I think it's better for you to find out on your own.
You don't know?
No, I do know.
Where is
I'm
it?
just not wasting much time discussing anything else with you because
You are wasting time.
I'm looking forward to the debate. Isn't it clear that I don't want to discuss anything else with you, Matt?
Every time I ask you a question, you sit here and you say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to. And you waste more time talking about how you don't want to do it than just give me a simple answer. Where's the name of
Yeah, I
your
already
God
answered
in the
you.
Quran?
I told you
What's the surah?
I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting my time discussing with you. I've told you that very politely several times, but you keep asking.
So you don't have an answer.
No, that doesn't follow, Matt. But if you use that kind
Yes,
of
it does.
inference in the debate, you're going to have problems.
So you don't have an answer. You could prove me false right now. Where is it?
Matt, I'm going to prove you false on Friday.
You're going to give me the name of your God in the Quran?
You can ask me that.
For everybody in the room.
You can ask me that. You can ask me that question during the debate if you want.
So why not, for everybody in the room, why don't you tell us where in the
Why don't you
Quran does
ask
it
me?
say
Why don't you
Allah's
ask me during the debate, and then I'll show you.
Yeah, we'll see how well you do. All right.
Looking forward to it, Matt. You seem very upset.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It seems like I touched a nerve. I don't know what happened.
No, I'm playing act. No. I just think that it's pretty typical of people who don't have answers to want to sound like they really do. That's what I see.
Just ask me any question you want in the debate. Simple.
It doesn't mean you're going to answer it. You said I could ask. It doesn't mean you're going to answer it.
Yeah, but if I
don't think you have the answer.
But if I don't answer it, then I would look bad, right, Matt?
Like you are not answering it right now, and you look bad.
That's your opinion. Let's see what happens.
You said if you don't answer it, you look bad. You're not answering it now. You look bad.
We're not debating. We're just talking.
What do you call this?
I'm not debating you. If I were debating you, it would be totally different.
All right. Well, it was nice talking to you. All right.
You too, Matt.
Mm-hmm. We'll see how it goes.
I think you made a big mistake here, Matt, but it's all right.
I'm smiling. See you.
Yeah, you totally underestimated this situation.
He's gone.